Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel in 2025. It's been very nice. We were supposed to go back to work yesterday, but we've had 2 snow days, so I've really been catching up on those last minute things that I wanted to upload and chat with you guys about. And yesterday, because we had the snow day, I was able to officially finish my first book of 2025. And this is a book that has been on my list for a while, but I have owned it for a really long time, but I just haven't pulled the plug and actually started reading it. But given that this book inspired my favorite stage show, that'll give you a little hint, and it also I keep finding things on my cabinet that I don't know what they are. It inspired my favorite stage show, but it also was my favorite movie of 2024. I felt it only apt that we would finally dive into the world of Wicked by Gregory Maguire. And the first of all, this book is the collector's edition. This is the 25th anniversary collector's edition. I got it at the Book Loft here in Columbus in German Village. So this is a very nice cover, and I really like the cover. The cover is, portrays Elphaba, as we know, and all of these creatures and all of the things here do end up happening in the book. Now, the number one thing that I want to make sure that everybody is aware when watching this video is this book is not suitable for children. This book is not suitable for children. This book really should have a mature rating, and I wouldn't even say that it's, people say that it's overtly sexual. It is, but not in a way that you would think. It's not like it's human beings or a married couple having lots of steamy, spicy sex. We're talking about like animals having sex with humans, humans having sex with animals, and like beings with multiple sex organs and having it's not suitable for children, and it is very, very abruptly not suitable for children. It actually kind of rips off the Band-Aid in the first chapter, and then it does settle down a little bit, but it is still, this book is not for children. So I'm making this video. That's the number one thing that I want everybody to know before we get into the actual content of the book, is this book is not suitable for children. I will say it again. Do not let your 10 and 11-year-old daughters read this book, because it is not, it is very, very dark. Now, I knew that going into the book. Like, I knew that Wicked was a darker reimagining of The Wizard of Oz, and that is what then spawned the spellbinding stage show and, alas, the theatrical film, which was amazing. I did do a review in my 2024 year-end movie wrap-up. I talked about the Wicked movie and how much I loved it. We're not going to talk about that in this video, because in this video we're just talking about the book. But I had read some not so great reviews. I had heard some not so great reviews from other readers that I know personally, and about how boring it was, and if you like the stage show, it'll ruin it for you, and it didn't do that. If anything, it made me appreciate the stage show more, and it really made me appreciate the movie. I don't think that it took away from my appreciation of the previous material that I was familiar with, but I can understand why, when they made the stage show, and possibly if you've only read the book and then you went and saw the movie and you haven't seen the stage show, you would be a little bit confused as to where the two connect. Because this is, like I said, this is very, very dark material. So this is considered an adult fantasy, not a fairy tale. It is an adult fantasy. And if you want more information, this book that I have, the collector's edition one, actually has this afterword in the back by Gregory Maguire, where he includes like some interviews and some personal testimonies that he collected and why he decided to go with fantasy versus a fairy tale and the difference between both of them. And now, something else that I want to make sure that people realize is this is actually the first in a 4-volume collective called Wicked, the Land of Oz. This is Wicked, the Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West. And then there are 3 other novels. The Lion Amongst Men is one of them. Out of Oz, or On the Run, or something like that. And then The Witch's Son. And this one does lead up to those other 3 subsequent novels, but just know that this is the first in a series. You do have to read this one first to really understand the others in the series. Before we even talk about the plot, I think it's important to say if I would read the other books or not. My husband asked me this as I was finishing it up. Probably, am I going to go and binge them all right now? No. This one was tough to get through. I described this book on a bell curve if you read my Goodreads review. So, like, it started off down here really weird, kind of like, okay, this is very dark. I see what people are saying. And then it really picked up in the middle, and I was really enjoying it. Getting to know the characters more. The book really explores a relationship between Bach and Elphaba that the stage show and the movie did not quite get there. In the stage show and the movie, Bach does pursue Galinda, but this really talks about the relationship between he and Elphaba, which makes the events that happen in the stage show and the movie with Bach even more devastating, given that this was their backstory. And so the fact that they went from one to the other is kind of interesting. Now, I will say, if you've seen the stage show, that, like, as I talk about the plot, there will be things that I talk about that are going to be in movie part 2. So if you do not want any spoilers for movie part 2, then maybe you should stop watching this video right now and wait till after the second part of the movie comes out. Because if you're not familiar, Wicked, the theatrical film, was split up into 2 parts, Wicked and Wicked for Good. The first part ends essentially where the stage show ends and goes on intermission between Act 1 and 2. Now, in the stage show and in the book, a relationship between Elphaba and Fiyero is explored, and it is done so, I would say, in comparison to all of the rest of the sexual content in the book, the actual affair between Fiyero and Elphaba is very tasteful, and it is very clear when you watch the stage show that that is what's happening. So that was one of the pieces that I was happy to see in the book. Now, I'm not going to go any further than that because there were a lot of different things in the book than the stage show. But what I was finding interesting was, and after reading the afterword that Gregory Maguire wrote, he wrote in the afterword about how this book is kind of like the other world. Like, we have the world that we're in, and then, or the world that we live in, and then this is like the other world. So Oz, as we know it from the original 1939 film, is the world that we know, or the world that we're in. And then he took that and then drew his own alternative reality from it, as sort of like an alternate ending or just an alternate retelling of the story. And then Wicked, the songwriters and the directors of the stage show kind of took Gregory Maguire's world and made it their own. So it's not so much that the two are counteracting each other. It's more of they're working with each other. They're, thieving and smuggling ideas from each other to make this different form of art that is based on the same media and the same topic. So I think you can enjoy both the book and the stage show and the movie separately. I don't think one or the other has to impede your understanding or your appreciation of the book as an art form. Now, getting into a little bit more of the plot details, as I described this reading as a bell curve. Towards the end, when it's supposed to be picking up climactically, I found myself falling asleep. And then once Dorothy comes into the picture, which if you've seen Wicked, you've seen the movie, it opens with Dorothy and the Tin Man and everybody entering Oz. And that's, the story of Wicked is supposed to be the story of Elphaba before she became the Wicked Witch of the West. This is a little bit of both. This is before, during, and then after Dorothy comes and what happens. So, and then the stage show took it one step further and kind of gave this an alternate ending. So, knowing that the two go hand in hand and that each took pieces, obviously the book came first, so the book didn't take any pieces from the stage show, but the stage show took pieces from the book and then made it their own. There are a lot of pieces in here, like the Oz Does Ballroom, like little things that fans of the show will appreciate, fans of the movie will appreciate. Overall, I gave this book, on Goodreads, I had to give it a 2-star because it just wasn't good enough for it to be a 3. Now, in that middle part, when we were at the top of the bell, I was very comfortably in the 3-star range. I really liked the development between Bach and Elphaba's characters. I really liked this building up of Madame Morrible as kind of this villain, which is something that I've always said from the beginning. And then I also just liked learning about more of Elphaba's past, why people were so against her, and the book goes really deep into her birth. and like how much her father detested her, which is a totally different level of trauma and a big piece of Elphaba's motivation throughout the entire book, saga, movie, show. That is the number one motivation for why she does what she does, is to get her father's approval, because she's never got it. So, and they talk about that in the book. They talk about Nessa in the book, and all of the things that are true in the stage show, again, with creative liberties, happened in the book. So the fact that Nessa Rose is, in the stage show and in the movie, she is unable to walk. In the book, she actually was born with no arms. So she is paraplegic and is missing limbs in the book. But the storyline of her having this disability and having this condition, which makes her different in a different way than Elphaba also has a condition, which makes her different. And seeing the two and how they come to be is just really, really fascinating. Now, something that the book explores, but the stage show and the movie kind of turned on its head, was the relationship between Elphaba and Glinda. And in the book, Glinda does not really stray the path that she starts off in the beginning of the stage show and the movie. So in the stage show and the movie, Glinda really takes to Elphaba and they become best friends. Now, Elphaba likes Glinda and she respects her as a person. However, in the book, Glinda really stays on this path of righteousness, really stays on the path to become a sorcerer, and really does not give regard to Elphaba or Fiera or anybody that she does show a little bit more empathy towards in the book and the stage show. So as a character, Glinda does not get as much attention in the book compared to some of the other characters. Like, we have a whole other set of characters that's introduced in the book. The world building is very extensive, as you can imagine. This is an adult fantasy set in Oz. So Gregory Maguire really tried to take what we knew about Oz, turn it on its head, and then give us a whole new world out of this world that we already know. And that is explained a lot more in the afterword. So if you are able to snag the 25th anniversary, which has the afterword in the back, I highly recommend, because it did give a lot more like, oh, okay. So like I said, overall on Goodreads, I gave this book a 2 out of 5 because I just could not give it a 3. To me, it really sits at like that 2.5 to a 2.75, which is what I gave it on Storygraph. Again, it is very dark, it is very challenging, and very intense. And because it's set in Oz and it's a fantasy, there are a lot of things that you have to suspend your disbelief. There are a lot of words that seem like they're made up, and you just have to kind of go with it. Whether they're made up or not, I didn't actually check, but there were several that I was like, I'm not really sure if that's a real word or if I know what it means. So and sometimes as a reader, you just do that. And I found myself skimming some of the world building. Fantasy is not my genre, so I'm getting more into it. And I did review some fantasy books last year, but it's just not my genre. Romance, thriller, and suspense are like my go-tos. Those are my bread and butter. So when it comes to the world building, if I'm not into it, then the world building is often where a book will lose me, and I will just skip over it instead of putting the book down. Now, I will say with about 80 pages left of the book, I was over it. I wanted it to be done, which is another thing that affected my rating. I think I just really I have like a stack of 5 books from the library, which is probably on myself for bringing all those books home when I was already reading something, but I have like book club books, and I just have other books that I'm trying to finish, and I just did not want to be reading this book for a whole month. And so I really had to power through and convince myself to finish it, and I'm glad that I did. I was so far into it that I knew I was going to finish it, but I was considering like stopping, reading another book, and then coming back and reading the ending, because I really just had trouble getting through those last like 80 to 100 pages. So overall, would I recommend this book? I would say if you like Wicked, I would recommend giving the book a try. Will you like it? I can't say if you'll like it or not, because it is if you're not a fantasy reader like myself, who is not a fantasy reader, then the world building, the character arcs, and all of that, and the creatures, and figuring out what they are, like that might all be a little too over your head. Now, but Do I think you should avoid it because it will ruin or taint your appreciation of the movie or the stage show? No. I think if anything, like I said, seeing how the two go hand in hand and seeing where they got their inspiration from this and that and the other thing, hearing a lot of those lines from the musical in the movie interspersed in the book was fun. And so it kind of was like a little bit of an Easter egg hunt, trying to figure out where the directors got the ideas for the stage show versus Gregory Maguire's original material. And I did not realize how many books Gregory Maguire has actually written. He has written a lot of these darker reimagining fairy tales, and I'm going to actually add some of them to my list. I did buy my sister-in-law one of them for Christmas. It was a Cinderella Evil Stepsister one. He wrote a Snow White one, and then obviously he wrote all 4 of the Wicked books, and then there are others. He wrote a novel called Lost, and he talks about all of that in the afterword. I've really been, like, sipping this tea for, I kid you not, like 4 hours. So I'm just trying to finish it. But anyway, I think, would I read it if I liked, like, if now knowing what I know, am I glad that I read it? Yes. Would I read it again? No, but I'm not a person who reads books more than once. Did I get what I wanted to get out of it? Yes. Were there things that disappointed me? Also, yes. Were there things that I enjoyed about it and that I liked to see in the book because they were in the stage show and the movie? Yes. Do I like the book better than the stage show or the movie? No. But I'm glad that I read it. And I'm glad that I finished it. And I'm gonna probably see if any of, like, my family wants it, but then since this is a nice, like, this one will probably get sold back, and I'm hoping to get a few dollars out of it because it is the hardback, it has the afterword, and I do have the slipcover as well, and I just know that I'm not gonna read it. Now, for the other ones, I would probably just get them at the library. Target had the entire box set of the books for like $20, but I'm probably just gonna get them from the library because I'm not sure if I'm going to like them. The storylines seem interesting and they seem intriguing, especially the 4th book, but yeah, so I think that's it. I think that's my review and summation of Gregory Maguire's Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West. Again, this book is not suitable for children. I would say maybe 17, maybe, depending on your parenting style and your level of comfort, because it is very bizarre is the only word that comes to my head. Like, some of the encounters are just very perverse, in my opinion, and not enough to, like, turn me off as an adult from reading the book, but definitely not, like, one of my steamy, like, rom-coms. We're just talking about a totally different level of sexual content. And for that reason, I probably would say that this book would get, like, a 5 in terms of, like, spicy and sexual content, for the sole purpose that some of what happened made me uncomfortable. And that is very rare, that a book will make me uncomfortable when reading about, like, sex and sexual encounters. And because of that, I think I have to say that this is a 5 spice book, just because it is, like I said, some of the things that the characters endure and that happen, and that's all I'm gonna say. Like, it to me, that's just me. Some of you might be like, oh, it wasn't even spicy at all, it was just kind of weird, and that's fine. But yeah, so that's another reason why it's not suitable for kids. Now, I will say, like, language wise, it's fine, but it's all of the dark, like, lots of violence as well, lots of blood. Yeah. So I think that's it. I think that's all I'm going to say about it. Would I recommend you to read it if you like Wicked? Yes. Do I say give it a try? Are you going to finish it? I can't promise. Like, it was, especially towards the end, it was a little bit of a struggle. But that's why I gave it, just under 3 stars. It wasn't a 1 star because I did finish it, so... But that's where we get these ratings, and that's why everybody and their mother talks about the books that they read on social media, so other people can get multiple opinions, because a lot of the times I find that the Goodreads reviews are really harsh, I think. So, yeah. That's my review of Gregory Maguire's Wicked. Let me know in the comments if you have read this one this year, if you're going to read it this year. Maybe you're trying to read it before the second part of the movie comes out. Maybe you should do that. It would be less of a spoiler for what's coming in the movie, but also this and the movie are so different that it probably wouldn't matter. But yeah, if you're trying, the second part of the movie comes out in November of 2025, so if maybe you start it in September and then you have it done by the time the new movie comes out. So that is my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you did. Let me know if you've read it. Give me a thumbs up. And as always, hit that red button and subscribe to my channel for all of my latest videos. And make sure you scroll up and down if you're watching this on your phone to see everything that I've posted the past couple of weeks, because there has been a lot. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.